Missy.
And this is Elizabeth, and welcome to You Should Meet My Friend. Today, we have two very special guests in celebration of Valentine's Day. My special guest is my husband, Greg, and Missy's special guest
Is my husband, Chris.
I don't know why we came up with this kooky idea other than we just thought it'd be fun to have you both on. And so we have our standard 5 questions that we ask our guests, and you all have been pre-briefed because we're not cruel. And
No, he didn't get pre-briefed.
yeah,
I was too busy today.
So we'll get into that in just a second, but I have a question for Greg and a question for Chris. The question for Greg is, so you have been an observer of this wacky project called the Elizabeth and Missy podcast.
Yeah.
Very loyally listened to several of our episodes. So as a bystander, what do you think? And I'm not trying to get a compliment. I'm not trying to get a compliment. What I'm trying to get is, what's the behind the scenes been like for you?
Well, the behind the scenes, first of all, I think it's a great idea that you guys do this. And when I mention it, I'm a booster. I'm out there telling people, hey, my wife has a podcast. And I've shown your podcast on Apple Podcasts to a number of people. So I'm a booster.
Excellent.
But as far as the process, I think it's great. I'll come home and I'll hear voices and I go, oh, you're on the phone. And then I realize, no, she's just editing because the same voice goes over, and then it repeats and over, and then it repeats over. It's like Groundhog Day. So then I realize it's just over. Also, we've learned some new software, some new things, right? Those new tools you've been using for the podcast editing, that's pretty cool. So my view from behind the scenes is it's pretty cool to watch you guys work and do this. And you really have had quite a stable of different people. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
And so your podcast tends to be one drive to and from the airport for me. It's good.
Yeah. And Chris can usually maybe get through one on his way to work.
My question for Chris is, Missy always says that you met because she was bad at math and you were her tutor. So I want to verify this story with you.
That story is 100% correct. Yes.
Right.
I was, for our small high school, advanced math just meant that you skipped a grade.
Okay.
And so as an 8th grader, I was taking 9th grade algebra. She was in the algebra class. And
I don't remember him.
I do, because he got laryngitis and couldn't talk for 6 weeks.
Was that my freshman year?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And you both know Missy. Do you think she could be quiet for 6 weeks? So helped her out there. And we continued to have math class together because you just kept on that. And yeah, that is 100% true.
I didn't know you're high school sweethearts.
Yes.
Did not know that. Did not know that.
And it all started because I leaned over and I go, do you understand what's going on? And he never said hardly anything. And he just shook his head like, yeah, I probably because he was afraid that I was going to get him in trouble, which is a valid concern. So, and then he told me later that he was scared of me. So I was like, oh, I think that's the sweetest thing you've ever said.
If you're high school sweethearts, when did you guys get married? After college or mid-college or
96? Yeah. So it was a year
after
before
geometry class or after
geometry class. Yeah.
Don't ask me how many years we've been married. I'm not good at math. I don't know.
This year's 29, and we were 7 before, so it's been 36 years.
Wow.
That we've been together.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Feels like a couple days.
The end of this year is going to be our 30th anniversary. So we got married several months. We had a big discussion the other night, the difference between couple and several. So probably several months before you guys, we got married. But
couple is very exact. Couple is 2.
Yeah, couple is 2.
Exactly.
No.
2 is 3 or more.
Yeah. It sneaks up on you, the years, don't they?
It does. Yeah, and I'm still bad at math. I remember distinctly we always would meet before school because we would meet in the cafeteria before school officially opened. They would let us meet there and then they would roll up the gates or somebody would come out and be like, okay, you can go in. And so we would meet out in the cafeteria. And I think after about 2 weeks, I was like, hey, I really don't understand any of this, but want to go out, and the rest is history. So.
Excellent.
I just had a dog. That's how I did it. I brought a dog to Japan, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Were you in the same squadron? Like, how did you guys? You met in Japan.
We did.
We did.
I was in the airfield ops flight in the ops support squadron, and Greg was in one of the flying squadrons.
Yeah.
And he says that I would come to their pilot meetings and mildly scold them about how they were not following procedures in the pattern.
Yeah. Every Friday there was like an ops day, and
Oh
it was
yeah.
kind of a rotation. It was weather one week, and intel and ATC was one of the weeks, and this gal would come over and tell us how we're screwing up her pattern. And
What he doesn't know is how incredibly intimidating it was to walk into a room full of pilots, and I'm still a second lieutenant, so I'm walking in this room full of pilots because this is very geeky, but C-130s fly a lot of tactical VFR stuff. And then they would get mad when we'd turn them off of whatever they were doing. It was some sort of formation flying thing you guys did. It's mad.
Yes,
We'd turn them off. But when you have an IFR C5 or 747 or whatever, sorry, they have priority. So that's probably what I was yelling about.
So I was like, I need to know who this is, because all the single people wind up in the same crowds at the club and do things together. And I don't think we know actually when we met. We just at a hash run or somewhere at the club or something like that. But I had a dog, so she wanted to meet.
I kept talking to this really fun guy. We'd have these great conversations at the O Club. And then 10, 11 o'clock, the club would close. He'd be like, okay, see ya. And I'm, what's going on? And so I talked to my friend Kathleen, who's still a good friend. She was a bridesmaid in our wedding. And I'm like, I keep talking to this guy. He's so fun. And we have a good time chatting, but he's not asking me out. What should I do about this? And we were planning a camping trip, like a big group camping trip. And she's like, invite him camping because he'll bring his dog. And if nothing happens, at least we get to play with it.
You get to play with it.
See?
Good strategy.
Yep.
I just called it very aggressive ambivalence, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
I'm
30
going to
years-
have to
30
remember that.
Yeah, 30 years later, here we are. See?
Here we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm older than him, which falls in line with the women in my family because my mom's older than my dad and my grandmother was older than my grandfather. It's just by 8 months, but it was different. We were different years. So he is a year behind me in school, but light years ahead of me in brain, in math. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I did we have chemistry together?
We had biology with Miss Janagi together.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
He says so. I don't remember much.
Okay, should we get to our question? So our idea was that Greg would come up with answers to my questions and I would come up with answers to his questions and see how we do. Is that
Now,
work for you guys?
So this is
Did-
like the Newlywed Game?
Yes.
Is that where
Did Greg come up with different questions than we're doing?
No, we just
Oh, okay.
talked about our kind of
But I was confused. I was like, am I supposed to guess what you're going to say about me back to her? It was like all these double back and forth. So, I know it's very complicated. Very complicated.
So-
Okay.
Greg is answering for.
Greg is answering for Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
Elizabeth is answering
Yes.
Greg, and we'll see how close we are.
Just like the
No.
Newlywed Game. Okay.
Okay.
This
All
will be
right.
fun. Okay.
That's okay for you guys too.
All right.
Our first
We're on board.
Yeah, our first question is what will be the title of the book about your life? So, Chris, what do you think the title of Missy's book is going to be?
I think it'll be
He's trying to figure out what to say that doesn't get him into trouble.
no.
No.
I spent all my time worrying, but that wasn't so bad.
That is pretty accurate. I was thinking he was going to say something like dead people in gym. I don't know. Do the things that are common occurrences in my everyday life.
Yeah.
It's dead
Yep.
people.
Yep.
It's good. Yeah.
What about you, Missy? What do you think Chris's book title should be?
Golly. The title of his book is going to be something about being cool, calm, and collected and making Missy's coffee. And don't know. It's probably going to be Adventures with Missy because he really does just go along with my crazy ideas and he cleans up my messes and he listens to me worry and go on and on. And yeah, Adventures with Missy.
That's
Guys,
it, huh?
Yeah,
Did you
he's
have-
been there. It's fun to have known him since he was 15, and he's still the same person. This is the same guy he was in math class when he was 15. Quiet, cool, calm, and collected, and the totally opposite of me. It works.
Would you agree, Chris?
Very close. That's good.
Yeah. See? He just
See?
agrees with
He's
everything.
he's a smart guy. Yes.
He's
that's
a
good.
smart guy, Greg. I trained him.
That's
to
right.
do that.
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, Greg,
Um,
what do you think?
So what do I think should be Elizabeth's title?
yes.
Sleep when you're dead. A complete
Sleep when you're
guide.
dead.
It's a complete guide to filling up the calendar to promote and foster mental health for the rest of your days.
That is a good one.
That is Elizabeth's, and I'm along for the ride.
There you go.
Yes, I tease her, but it's actually a lot of fun. She works hard and keeps the calendar busy. We keep moving, and we have a house sitter that is basically has a second income because of us. And so maybe the reason the dog's whining today is because he'd rather have because we're home. Maybe maybe that's the reason. But that's Elizabeth. That is her plan. Is to our kids call us sharks. Like if we stop moving, we're gonna die.
Not moving your dog.
So
Yeah.
Yep. So we keep moving. So I tease her about it, but I do enjoy it. We have a lot of fun together. We do a lot of cool stuff.
You do.
Stuff that I wouldn't do otherwise.
And I know our listeners can't see it, but I like to tease you guys. At least there was a period of time. Greg has his Washington Nationals sweatshirt on.
Yes.
And I was always like, Elizabeth would be like, guess where we are? And I'm like, let me
I
guess.
think you need to you should go to a couple dozen games a year. It's important.
Yeah.
Well, always have 2019. It was a great year.
Yeah.
It is our official date night from April through October is baseball games.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So, Greg, I have two book titles for you.
Oh no.
Funny one
Okay.
and a more serious one.
All right.
One is Your Process is Not Good.
Because I'm process intolerant. Is that it?
There's nothing he hates more than a process that's there just for the process that doesn't actually
Yes.
do anything.
Oh.
It makes no sense. That
Ah.
I'm just trying to get to yes, and you're trying to make me do 14 steps to get there. That just drives him insane.
Just say the initials TSA, and it drives me through the wall.
Yeah. I was going to say, how did you manage a career in the Air Force and now working for the airlines? I feel like that's all it is.
Anytime we went to a retirement in the Pentagon, 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, and just getting through the Pentagon
Getting through,
process,
right.
and it is layers upon layers. It's just self-serving, absurd. All right,
You
so
know,
what's
yeah.
your other
What's
type?
the other
The
type?
serious one is, and I can't think of the right collection of words, but something about how you will take care of things. So if somebody is in need, if there's a volunteer activity that needs help, and it's not to say you do every volunteer activity, but if you have an expertise, you are very generous with how you use that to help other people. And because of that, you probably could run a daycare center now by yourself because
Probably.
you've been the finance person for our church's daycare center for
Ooh.
several years, many years, and just done so much for the Scouts. And he's a big believer in putting actions behind. Maybe that should be like actions speak louder than words. Is better way to
Okay.
I like it.
you put
Someone's got to do the work. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just get started.
put your energy
Yeah.
behind the things that you can make better for the world.
Well, thank
Aw,
you. Well, thank you.
So sweet. I'm like that too, Greg. I sit in a lot of church meetings and I'm like, haven't we been talking about this for a while?
Church meetings.
Oh, yeah. I said, I'm on a committee and I had to talk to an outside person. And I said, hey, we're Presbyterian. So our committee is going to meet to create a committee to make this decision, and we will overanalyze everything. So we'll get back to you soon.
I always forget how we're supposed to start with prayer. I just want to get going. Let's
I
get
know.
the thing. Let's just get the thing going.
I always feel horrible about that.
I know. And I'm like, oh, I forgot.
I did that all the time too, because I was the church council president for 3 years, and I was dedicated to the 1 hour meeting.
Oh, me
Yeah.
too. I'm a 1 hour
But
meeting
I'd get
person.
about 15 minutes into the meeting, and I'm like, oh man, I should have called on the pastor to start us off with prayer. Oh well, we'll just get this meeting done.
Yeah.
We're gonna pray at the end, so it's fine.
I just 1 hour. I'm a big fan of the 1 hour
Right.
meeting.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I said I just learned that as a lieutenant. I would go into there would be a staff meeting, and the squadron commander, who's a new guy, he showed up, and we were trolling around, people going around the table, and at 1 hour we just got up and closed the book and left. And people were like, "But we're not done yet." And
He
after
goes, "Oh,
about
you're
2 weeks, after about 2 weeks of that, people figured out, oh, okay, it's 1 hour. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was great.
I'm curious what you guys think, but I'm realizing now in retrospect what the military did for me is they taught me how to make decisions with imperfect information. And not to say that people outside of the military can't do that, but that's not a skill that everybody has. So that's why you have 3-hour-long PTA meetings and faffing around trying to decide whether or not we should buy this replacement uniforms for the marching band or whatever. And I'm like, let's do it. Make a decision.
Yeah.
We can
Yep.
you can always tweak it later. Just go for it.
Right. Yeah.
I
Well,
think the result is people I think I'm very serious all the time, but I don't want a short meeting.
well, Chris has taught me make a decision, and it may not be the right one, but it's what, like you said, it's you have that information. You're making the best decision.
Yep.
It's a start. You can always change, and it's always what I tell my kids: like, you're not married to that decision, and you have every right to go. You know what? Now that I have more information, I think we're going to do this now. And I just want people to make decisions. I don't necessarily want to be the person in that position.
Right.
Yeah, our production group has 13 supervisors
Oh,
and a manager. And so it's the supervisors are squadron level equivalents, even though they've only got about 20 people, but it's the same level of care and feeding and responsible. And then the manager is a group commander, but the manager does not take control.
Oh,
And so you've got 13 people giving their opinion on this or that, but really it's 4 or 5 of them that are the real heavy speakers.
Sure.
And they just drag it along or this or that, and they want a consensus. And I'm just sitting there going,
when can we do this?
Travis, you're in charge. Let's do it.
Yeah, I know.
And they have no agenda. Yeah. So Greg, it's just like that. It's go around the room and you just blab. And we were 2.5 hours last week.
Oh,
yeah. I know.
2.5
It's
hours.
brutal. It's brutal.
And I couldn't tell you 2 things that we decided on in that meeting.
Yep.
They at one meeting they said, okay, you ran it.
Yeah.
And you had what? And everybody got.
And I was in and out. We were in and out in 30, 45 minutes. I was like,
Yes,
here's the stuff we want to talk about. Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Move on. It's a classic. We actually make fun of each other and we go, just one more thing. Just one more thing.
Yeah.
And with 13 people, that turns into another hour of just one more thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're right, Elizabeth. The military kind of taught us to go and gather information and then make a decision. And we can tweak it down the road a minute or whatever we need to, but start the process and get going. Like Greg, let's get to work.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything here in this meeting besides hash it over and over.
Do you want me to do the second question, Elizabeth?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll start with you guys.
All right.
We'll go backwards. Elizabeth, what is an unpopular opinion that you think Greg has that he stands by?
This is such an easy one.
It's a softball.
It is a total softball because
Oh, this is a total
Underhanded.
softball.
he does not like cheese. And he would
I don't like cheese.
like the entire world to stop telling him why it's a problem that he does not like cheese.
People with the cheese. Do you like pizza? Yes, I like pizza. Did you know pizza has cheese? Yes, I'm well aware pizza has cheese. Do you like lasagna? Yes. Did you know lasagna has cheese? Yes. Do you like nachos? No, I cannot stand nachos because that cheese is disgusting. Do you like
Yeah.
cheeseburgers? No, you should not put cheese on a burger. Why would you ever do that? As soon as they learn this about me, it's just the funniest thing ever. They just want to needle me about
With
cheese.
cheese.
Yeah, it's just
It's like-
cheese for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's
It's like Trevette is colorblind. And
Yeah.
people are always like, "You're colorblind." Like, totally colorblind? What's the color of my phone? And he's people. Everyone wants him to do
Stupid
some
like
sort
a
of
security
party game.
yeah, stupid human tricks. You're
Right.
not gonna make me see colors.
Right.
It's not gonna happen. So we're not
Right.
people need to
So-
leave everyone that's listening, please leave Greg alone about the cheese.
Right. Just leave me with the cheese. So I don't need to go into the fromagerie in France. I'll just stand outside
Yes.
and I'll find somewhere.
Well,
I'll drink all the wine you'd like me to drink. I just
There
don't
you
want
go.
your cheese.
And I love cheese, so it's a
She-
perfect
Right.
pairing because if they bring out a cheese plate or whatever, I'm like, I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And I'll eat the grapes and the
pickles, yeah.
apples. Yes, and the pickles. I'm fine with the pickles.
So Greg, what is an unpopular opinion that Elizabeth has that she stands by?
I had a hard one. This was not easy for me, so we wasn't sure whether we were trying to get really serious. I wasn't going to go to some sort of political stance. We weren't going there, but
Yeah.
so I was stuck in the food world, and it took me a long time to finally reconcile this because I remember early on when I knew her, she doesn't like soda. She doesn't like Cokes or Diet Coke or Sprites or now fruit juices are fine. All that is lemonade is fine. Tea's fine. And I think I must have asked her 10 years after we're married, can I get you want a Coke? And she like politely, no, I don't know. So now it took me a long time to realize that. So that is a food thing that is to common culture. She just does not like, she doesn't like any kind of fountain soda at all. That's
Correct.
just
Really?
she likes the fruit punch will be fine.
Yeah.
And lemonade. And she can
Yeah.
discern between the various brands of
Oh, that's actually
Lemonade.
Emma. Emma's
that-
the one who can discern the different lemonades if it's Minute Maid or Tropicana, I think.
yeah, but she doesn't like no sodas at all.
I do not have a problem with beer, tonic
Right.
Water.
Yeah.
water. Or our latest favorite cocktail has like a grapefruit soda. So theirs are okay. But yeah, give me a Diet Coke. I'd be like, here, you can have it back.
Yeah.
As a kid, it was impossible.
Oh yeah.
Because we didn't really, if you guys remember when we were kids, bottled water was like not a thing. So if you were
Yeah.
at like an all day state fair, you could get Coke, Sprite, maybe root beer. That's
Yeah.
all there was
Right.
to drink. And
Yeah.
then famously as a kid, we were on an international flight. My mom and my brother and I were flying. I guess we'd come home for a visit during the summer. We're flying back to Japan when my dad was stationed in Japan. And I had asked for milk from the flight attendant, but it had not been refrigerated. And
Oh.
so before we even landed, I had already been throwing because it had spoiled. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Today's
So
story.
what do you think is an unpopular opinion that Chris has?
The one thing I can really think of, and this is so no one else really knows about this, but it's just been a hot button topic in our house the last couple of months is, and I may have to provide a visual to our listeners, but he has, if you follow me on Facebook, he has this red and black checkered flannel. And he wears it all the time around the house. Oh, he's gonna go get it.
Is he like it's like his brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl, that kind of
I
flannel?
don't know what it is, and I bought him new ones. Other people have bought him new ones, and it's not about that. And he just, it goes beyond wearing something out. It's just ridiculous. And I'm like, I will say to him, I'm like, are we poor? Can we not afford? Look at that.
And it only has 3 buttons up top.
I
Only-
think the
yeah.
buttons are the least the worry of that thing. I
Yeah.
think buttons. That's the.
And we all make fun of him. I
Do
have
you have a sign and you go hang out at the stoplight and ask for money with that thing?
I said I'm going to keep it until next Halloween and go as a zombie.
A zombie. Yeah.
But
I make a yearbook every year on Shutterfly, and my sister, she was looking at it the other night, and she goes, "You put his sweatshirt in there?" And I said, "Yes, because someday I'm gonna remind him of that." And she's, "You should probably bury it with him." And I said, "Yeah, that'd probably be the only way I could get it out of my house." But he loves it. He doesn't care about what anybody else thinks. He marches to his own drummer, so he has a lot of unpopular opinions, and he just doesn't care. And he doesn't care if I think it's stupid. He just doesn't care. And I admire that, because I probably care too much about what other people think, but he doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. That was just the most timely one I could think of.
I know,
So
Greg.
I'm gonna stick with the food theme for Missy, because she has a lot of foods that are just no go in her book. And
I'm
she
with you,
says
girl.
it's a
I'm with you.
texture thing. But peaches, mushrooms, and tomatoes.
Oh,
So I'm
Now,
with you on the
what-
middle one. Mushrooms are fungus. There's no reason to eat
Yeah.
mushrooms.
And they're slimy.
But peaches and tomatoes are both pretty good.
Yeah.
But
like
I'm with
Greg,
you on mushrooms.
with the
I'm with you on
cheese,
mushrooms.
Missy's not afraid of spaghetti sauce or lasagna or pizza. Okay with the sauce part of it.
Yeah.
She just can't eat a tomato, and she's slimy. Like, okay, yeah, it's wet.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a big avocado fan either. Yeah, I tried.
Oh yeah.
I tried. We were at some deal. Where was that? In France, it was like an all avocado meal. It's like five. It's like avocado 5 different ways, and I tried them all.
no, I think that was lucky for you. I think that was just the appetizer.
Oh, there's 4 or 5 avocados. I was like, I tried them.
Yep.
They're not. It's not terrible, but I don't understand guacamole. Like, it's amazing.
So peach pie is not your jam?
No, and I don't even. I don't
like peach flavor.
Yeah, I don't even like peach flavored. I don't like peach flavored drinks or candy or ice cream or anything. It's just not
Oh, that's a top 10, top 5 flavor.
Yeah,
really.
I'm
And
up there.
my mom will listen to this, and she knows that. Love you, Carol Ann. But she's always, you go to visit, and she's like, "I made a peach cobbler. You don't like peach cobbler, do you?" And I said, "No." And she's, "Oh, that's your sister who likes peach cobbler." Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, she remembers. They just needle you. It's like the cheese thing. They just needle you. Oh, Greg, would you like some cheese? Oh, that's right. You don't like cheese. Enough already. Have we not worn this trope out? Yes, I do not. Has not changed in a long time.
Long time.
Well, I haven't liked peaches since a kid, so it's not like when I was in my 40s I decided.
Then my mother will say, "You used to eat mac and cheese." I was hostage. I was hungry. I was 7 years old. I had to eat it. I didn't have a lot of agency here, but I do not eat mac and cheese now.
Yeah. My sister and we went to the same babysitter for a little bit, and it must have been because she fed us like the same, like every Monday was like macaroni and cheese, and then like Tuesday was peanut butter and jelly or something, because I don't like macaroni and cheese and my sister doesn't like peanut butter. And I think it's just because we had so much of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Elizabeth, you want to go with the next one?
Sure. Okay. So, Chris, if your house farm is burning down and all the humans and pets are safe, and actually, this has been on my mind quite a bit given all the fires in California.
Yeah.
What would Missy grab?
What would Missy grab? Oh. Yeah. I knew what mine was right off the bat. What would she grab?
This was an easy one for me. I know exactly what Elizabeth would grab.
Yeah.
So, or how about Missy? Answer what you think Chris would grab while he thinks about it.
We were in a situation one time. We were in a hotel and the fire alarm went off. And the one thing you got to know, he would grab nothing. If we were safe, he wouldn't grab anything. Maybe the keys to all the Jeeps. Okay.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we have them all hung. So he would just go in the kitchen and probably take the whole rack off the wall and he'd have all the keys. But we were in a hotel and the fire alarm went off and there was a fire in the kitchen.
It was Garmin.
Yeah, down
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah,
Edelweiss.
it's the
Like
Edelweiss.
Oh,
the
yeah.
second time we were there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But he always, when we stay like at a hotel or somebody else's house, he puts his keys, his wallet, his bracelet, his watch, whatever, and he puts them all in his shoes with usually a hat and a sweatshirt. So in a split second, he was dressed and we walked out and everybody is out and it's like December,
And it was
January.
like 6:00. We were just waking up.
Yeah.
And the alarm.
So it's cold. Guess who are the only ones sitting in their warm car because someone had brought the keys. So I'm going to say he would grab keys.
It was really
Yeah.
interesting. I was sharing these questions with my son, and he said the same thing, car keys, because to him, that's his ticket to freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he needs to get out of his head, if he needs to get away from school, just that's his ticket.
Go back to Missy. I would say just because we can go a few things. I think she would grab her computer and her iPad because she can't be without those.
My phone.
And
Yeah.
her phone. Yeah. Those three electronics. But then I think, and we used to have this when we had our piano and stuff, all the pictures of all of her family, of all of our family, were up there on top of the piano. And so there was probably 15 or 20 photographs of all of our grandparents and all of our parents as young adults and their wedding pictures and things like that. I
Mhm.
think that's one thing that she would try to hoard into a box and run off with was those memories, because then she can, think back on all that stuff. And yeah, we've talked about this too with fires, and her sister's mother-in-law actually lost her house, her
Oh, wow.
assisted home in Southern
Mhm.
California. The fire started right above in one of the canyon right above her place, and they had 5 minutes to get out.
Wow.
And she got out of that assisted living home with the clothes on her back and her walker. She didn't have
Oh
her
my God.
phone. She didn't have her medicine. She had nothing
Hmm.
except for the walker and the clothes. Yeah, we were talking about, how and what, hope the fireproof lockbox in the closet can stand enough because,
Yeah.
it's
We're
not the thing.
Missy, you remember Stella from season
Yeah.
1? They live in the Colorado Springs area and part of the world that gets wildfires. And I know where it is because she showed it to me inside their pantry door in their kitchen. They have a written list of the, 10 or 15 items that they would grab if they had to evacuate their house.
That's
Yeah.
a really good idea because that was something I heard repeatedly from people. They were like, I had 5-10 minutes and my brain froze. They said your brain just freezes and you can't think of anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's right. It would be pictures. It would probably be the thing that I would, probably mourn the most.
So for Greg, I know one thing he definitely would grab and one thing he probably wouldn't think of, but I would make him grab.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
So much of our life is electronic and in the cloud and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that really could go and it wouldn't be that hard. But one thing we did, maybe it was like 15 years ago or so, we couldn't find the kids' passports.
Mhm.
Yeah. And they were just somewhere. So
Yes.
we have 2 binders, and Greg does a good job keeping them up to date. One is documents, so like our wedding license,
Oh,
our
yeah.
license, certificates, things like that.
Nice.
And then the other binder, he does a good job keeping up. It's like the last statement from all our different financial accounts.
Wow.
So I know he would
Yeah.
just go into his office and grab those 2 binders, and we would.
Yeah, all the wedding licenses and birth certificates and
Mhm.
baptismal certificates are all in here.
Yeah.
Although I haven't put stuff in here in quite a while, but yeah,
Well,
we
now
put all
that-
this in one form. Here's
now
your
that-
confirmation book from when you were a kid.
May need that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But now that we have adults for kids, they have their own passports and stuff. But one thing I would make you grab that's hard to replace is you have from when you became an Eagle Scout, you have a small plaque. And that has traveled with you It's on the wall. I know you're looking at right now.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah. And it's just being an Eagle Scout, not in a show-offy way, but it just really became such a basis of your morals and your work ethic. And it's how you give back now to the Scouts. And that particular plaque would not be replaceable. So I think you should
Yeah.
grab that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking you were going to say, because if I were answering for myself, I have this photo album up here, which I would grab because it's like when I was a youth, but it has a ton of pictures in it from like the family at the ceremony,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I'd
Yeah.
probably grab this photo album. Because like you said, everything's in the cloud now. So pictures
Right.
and things like that. And
All our
that's-
kids stuff, because when our kids were born, that's when digital photography happened.
Right.
Everything from kids being born on, I feel like is easily replaceable because it's just the
Yeah.
file exists somewhere.
But
Right.
what you
Yeah.
should grab, what I think you will grab, and I think you would agree with this, is you would go grab the recipe book in the kitchen that has all of your stuff from your grandparents and all those things.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I think Elizabeth would grab because that's not in the cloud, not replaceable. Handwriting from her mom, from her grandmother, all those
Yeah.
kind of things, and it's very well worn.
It has a
It
lot of
gets
food
used- it-
stains on it.
A lot of food stains. And
Yeah.
I think you would grab that. But I would grab things like you just said. And there's a couple of pictures on the wall. There's that picture of you as a 3-year-old hanging over my dresser, and there's a couple things in here I would grab that are just those aren't in the cloud, not replaceable.
Yeah.
All the other stuff, diplomas, that all just you can find that again. And
Yeah,
everything else is just stuff, but things
Yeah.
like that. And we don't really have photo albums because, like I said, most of our stuff's online. But yeah,
When Chris's parent or grandparents, like I got pictures from his grandmother and on one side and his grandfather on the other side. And I didn't ask for him. It wasn't prompted, but one day just Grandpa Andy sent me a manila envelope and inside he was like, oh, I was going through pictures and thought you might want all these pictures of Chris when he was little. And I was like, oh my gosh, I treasure these. And I did scan
Yeah.
a lot of those in. I was like, that's really sweet. The one cool thing Elsa had, that my brother-in-law, his mom, she has a great disposition. And she had just moved into that place like a week and a half before the fires. And but he and I talked about this. She's been through World War II. She was in the Netherlands during that. She lost her husband on an international flight. He had a heart attack. She's been through other fires, not that she's lost. So she's been through a lot. She was just an inconvenience. And but she did lose some of pictures of her kids when they were little. But her parents or his parents were divorced and his dad died a couple years ago. And him and my sister have all these that are still these suitcases that are still full. They just never had time to sit down and go through them. And my sister had just happened to go through a suitcase before the fire. And she found a whole bunch of pictures of my brother-in-law and his family and his siblings when they were little. And so it's cool because we have some copies that we can replace because because their dad had copies of them. But she's making her way back. And so
He's what, 87, 89?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
is that what you would grab, Elizabeth? Your recipe book, or what else? What were you thinking?
So I just picked a bunch of pictures out of our electronic files to put online for Emma's 25th birthday, which was on Thursday.
Yes.
And it was really cool. And I need to do that more often because what's so cool about photo libraries now, I just put in Emma and it just brought up pictures. But in all the pictures were tons of places we were together as a family and lots of laughs. And so it was a really great tour through the past. So I'm sentimental about those images with my kids, but our wedding was awesome, but it's been almost 30 years since then. And we've had any other adventures. Like I would never go, I'd never go save my high school yearbook or my college yearbook because that was totally fine and great. And it's not like I'm scarred by those experiences, but that's so long ago and has so little to do with my life now. I'm not sure if I'd be sad if my wedding pictures burned up. Does that sound weird?
But that's a good point. Yeah. I was talking to a coworker the other day. I never met my grandfather. He died when my dad was a teenager. I've had dreams about him. And years ago, I probably I was even in college, or maybe not.
Yeah.
But I was snooping around my grandma's house, and in the back of her closet where I used to play, I found these letters from my grandfather to my grandmother when he was trying to woo her because she was dating somebody else. And he was a truck driver, so he would go out, he'd be gone, and he'd be lonely, and he'd write her letters. And so I made copies of those, and I wanted to read them. They've been in my lockbox for probably 20, 30 years, but apparently I decided to clean out the lockbox and put them someplace else. So I've been tearing out things, trying to look for them, and I hope they're upstairs. If not, I'll have to sneak back into my grandmother's house and make more photocopies of them, yes. But I read them a long time ago, and it just gives me a glimpse into who he was. And so I hope they're here. I really hope they're here because I really want them. We'll see. But anyways, moving on. This is what we ask all of our guests. We're just asking you the same things. Elizabeth, what organization does Greg support that you think our listeners would like to know about?
It's certainly been through a lot lately, but certainly Scouts. It's been a big part of his whole life. It was a big part of our son's life. He and Michael had some just awesome adventures together. And it's an organization that is maybe struggling a little bit, but it's going to find its footing because I think there's always a place. There's always a need where kids can go and have adventures where this is what I told Michael all the time. I love Scouts because you go and learn how to make fires and shoot things and use a camp knife, but you're not doing it in my house. I think the skills to camp and survive in the woods, I think, are really important and give kids a lot of confidence. And so I think that Scouts will find their way back to where they need to be, for sure.
Yeah. And even where we're at, predominantly LDS church, stepped away from Scouts, but it's still pretty strong. And he had an amazing troop. And in all three places that we lived, he was so lucky to find very active. In fact, when we were in Washington, almost every weekend, they had something going on. And sometimes you could choose between two things. Cohen became an Eagle Scout too. And I feel like we all did. And a lot of life skills. And it's impressive when you put it on an application or a resume. A lot of people have respect.
Scouting has lost a lot of population over the years because back when I grew up, it was just what you did. But now it competes with so many more things, not the least of which is just the glass that people carry around in their pocket, but all the sports and all that stuff. But I just would favor any organization, it doesn't have to be Scouts, that strives to teach character and values, because we didn't have to do that before because it was just part of society, but now we have to. And so I'm a big fan of anything that actually has as its mission statement so it doesn't have to be Scouting. It could be in 1,000 different areas, but just something that is trying to teach character and values to young people, because it's otherwise they'll just grow up without it. And that's a shame. So that's why I stay with it, even though I cannot stand the bureaucracy of it. If whoever's listening to this, the bureaucracy drives me insane. And so I feel like it's one of my missions is to shield people from it as much as I can. And I listen, I go to meetings and online meetings that just are, you talk about your meetings, Chris.
Yeah.
I listened to a 3-hour meeting the other night about just prattling on about the most silly minutia. But anyway, I can't stand the bureaucracy of it, but I think the missions are important. So that's what
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm with Elizabeth. He was gone a lot where they had to go out and sleep in the mountains, in the woods, in the snow. And it was always nice to know someone else was out there as my kid instead of me. And I remember one time when they went out in Washington, he was deployed, and our friend Mike, who was also in the Air Force at the time, when they got back, he sent me a message and I want to tell you, Cohen was the most prepared scout. And I'm like, you're welcome. I read through that list and I was like, I made him have everything.
Yeah.
I was a scoutmaster out there with some kids like, what are you, raised by wolves? You have nothing here. I mean, what were
Well,
you thinking? How'd you get out of the house without a jacket?
yes. What's let's see,
Organization.
organization that you think Elizabeth would name for our listeners?
This is a softball because first of all, the other title to Elizabeth's book is I Can't Say No. So
Oh,
anybody that comes
this is
helping
true.
for Elizabeth, because she has this enormous heart, but is really driven to, she always was interested in fostering and growing, developing younger people, particularly women, because I think as she has gone through her professional career, very much as a minority in all the settings she's been in as a
Right.
woman, especially around a bunch of call sign fight suit wearing. So
Right.
she's very active in this group called Academy Women and the Officer Women's Leadership Symposium. She's probably talked about this, but I would say just generically anything that has got a leadership mentorship focus has Elizabeth all over it. If you bring that to her, she's on your team.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to
I think
figure out how to replace yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
I think if
And,
we were playing the newlywed game, Greg would win. That's very good answers. He knows you well, Elizabeth.
Well,
Mhm.
So
Except at Christmas time, I'm like, I don't know. What am I supposed
right?
to
what
And
to
then she
do?
opens it. And
Yes.
it's like you don't even know me.
Just leave me the dog-eared catalog. I promise I'll
Yes.
get it for you. I promise. The other one that she's been involved with, and I apologize if haven't heard you talk about this, is this group called No Greater Sacrifice. Have you talked about this on the podcast yet? So
Amy,
talk to Amy. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yes, I do. I did
yeah.
listen to Amy's episode. So she's gotten involved with that. And I think other people, Elizabeth pulls people into that as well. Again,
yeah.
if you're a friend of Elizabeth, whether you like it or not, you're coming into her orbit.
yes, I'm
So,
volunteering you also.
Yeah,
go.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So
There's worse things that she could do.
yeah.
to a
Yeah.
person.
So that's another organization that's taking her time, and I think she gives it freely.
Good. Very
Mhm.
nice. Dear Chris, what's an organization that you think I would tell people?
So the biggest thing that Missy's been working on recently has been our sponsorship of a refugee family from Myanmar. Um,
Oh wow.
They're a small ethnic group called Rohingyans.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
are Muslim in the Buddhist country of Myanmar. And Myanmar has oppressed them for 3 decades, taken away their citizenship rights, their access to healthcare, their access to education, and all kinds of stuff. And a very large number live in Bangladesh in a huge refugee camp. And then a numbered few have fled further to Malaysia. And that's where our couple, our family, comes from. It was Malaysia. We got attached to the church through an actual U.S. State Department program called Welcome Corps. And that's what they do is they pair up refugee families with, it can be anybody. It can be church organization. It can be a private organization like a Lions Club or something. It can be individual people. You've got some money raising requirements, and you've got to be able to hit some certain steps to get them on the path towards citizenship and enrolled in things like their English classes and jobs and different things like that. But you're supporting and basically fostering a family or individuals for about 90 days to get them started into America and into the process of becoming a U.S. citizen through this very specific refugee labeled group. And so that's what she's been spending a lot of her time on. We're part of it. Her sister and brother-in-law, we're 4 of the 5 signatory members of our group, but there's probably about 12 or so that are active in helping that family out. They're an awesome couple. They're both in their early 30s. We have no idea. Jahid is the dad. We have no idea what his birthday was. So his birthday is now on January. Department put down.
Yeah.
He knew
all right.
kind of what year, but didn't know. And then they've got 3 kids, 2 boys, and then the youngest is a girl. And they're all going to school and doing super, super well. They knew no English before they got here. You can go over and ask them about how's school going, and they'll tell you it's going good. I got friends. They can speak stuff. Jahid got his first job.
How long have they been here?
They got here the week before Thanksgiving.
The
Oh,
November 20th.
wow.
They have
Oh,
just been here
wow.
60 days. He's got a job. They've started English classes. We've got them into a temporary house through the end of the school year, through the end of May. Interesting enough, there is a Rohingyan population in Salt Lake City, and he had a friend that he was already texting. We show up to the airport to pick him up, to bring him back up to Logan, and there's already 6 people there to meet him. And
Oh.
we're like,
Oh.
wait, who are
Well-
you? And we're like,
Yeah.
we're his friends. And it's just been super interesting. And Rohingyan is not a language that's in too many of your translator applications.
Yeah.
So that's been a little bit of a hard time. But amazingly enough, our church is full of a lot of the professors from USU. And one of our professors is a sociology professor. And one of her grad students is from Bangladesh. And she's working on her master's. Part of between her undergraduate and her master's, she spent a year working with the UN in that Rohingyan refugee camp.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
so she has been irreplaceable as a translator in helping us out that process. But that's the kind of thing to go along, like Greg, you said about Elizabeth, just any organization that is going to help and
Mhm.
foster people specifically. And that's what Missy's kind of into. She's always finding something like that. But yeah,
Or being thrown into things.
yeah.
But that's okay.
Missy has this very unique vocabulary. If you've heard of the royal we, it's how kings in the court, when they spoke about themselves, they didn't say I, they said we. And so when Missy says I, she
Right.
means Chris.
Right.
That's the translation. So when Missy says, yeah, I will help you,
Yeah.
it really translates to Chris will help you
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
And now our friends in our church, because I'm an elder, I'll be like, oh yeah, I can do that. And they're like, you mean Chris? And I'm like, wait a minute. One and the same.
One
I
and
can
the same,
feel
yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, it is a team
That's right.
project.
It is a team. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been, I won't say it's all been roses. And there's been a lot of moments where we're like, oh my gosh, what have we gotten ourselves into? But it's such a joy to watch people come from such a horrible, sad situation. And they're just so
Mhm.
appreciative of everything. And not only that, but like one of the boys was acting up in school. And my friend Laura, she is retired from the school district. So they got a message to her. And through our translator, we translated to dad that, he had misbehaved. That kid's been an angel. So I don't know.
Oh.
The things that are universal. We are trying to make it in this country. We want to stay. And you're going to get us kicked out because you're being
Right.
a knuckle. So, but a lot of the things are so universal. And I told her from the very first day, I'm a mother too. So I understand a lot of your worries, your concerns, your anxiety. And just to watch her become so comfortable and just come out of her shell and she's starting to understand that as a woman in America, she has a place and she can speak up for herself and advocate for herself. It's just very empowering. And the community that they have in Salt Lake City is phenomenal.
I know. That's amazing. That's got to
Yeah.
help with their getting comfortable
Oh yeah.
so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Their hope is to move down there. And I totally understand that. I would want to be with people that I've known since their time back there, and they speak the same language, they have the same culture and the same food. So for Chris, I would say this last year he went on a Utah honor flight, and Nucor Steel is a big donor. And he got to go not only as he helped fundraise, and you were even a chaperone. And so he went. And in that, they learned, Greg, you're talking about the whole bureaucracy. And I don't want to badmouth all honor flights because they're
Right.
all independently run and they're independently
Right.
done different. I have lots of friends from all over the country, and I've talked to them and they're like, that's not how we do things.
Right.
But the great thing is Nucor and these guys basically came together and said, we can do our own thing. We have the funds and the financial backing to be able to say, you know what? We're going to do our own thing. We're going to sponsor our own flight.
We're actually looking to charter to get the northern Utah, Idaho, Wyoming honor
Well, that's
flight
great.
section.
Cool.
multiple
'Cause-
states back east have got numerous honor flight committees.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
up
flown
until
them
this
before.
year.
Oh, have
so-
you? That is so
charter.
cool.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
you could
so
just call Greg.
Yeah, we're looking to set up a northern Utah,
Mhm.
and Idaho and western Wyoming, and try to hit that section of population to get them back to DC to see stuff and everything. So,
Yeah, but definitely the
Yeah.
charters. And that's just because you're clearly not going to connect.
Huge,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Okay.
Amazing amount of logistics for those honor flights. I know it's
Oh, I know.
it is a lot.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
is.
every now and then I'll just see them coming to the airport too. It was a few months ago, but I was flying out of Reagan, and a flight had just landed, and the whole terminal just stops
I know. Yeah.
and claps the people off, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then I think our final one is Greg and Chris. Do you have anybody you would recommend for us to interview?
Because we get
Oh,
to
I
pick
thought
all the time.
I thought I was supposed to recommend what Elizabeth.
Oh, no, not
oh.
this time.
You can do both.
Oh,
How about
You
you?
Well,
can do both. Maybe
so-
somebody she hasn't thought of.
well, the person I thought of, not to be sappy at Valentine's Day here, is you should interview your mother. Yeah, think about that. She raised two great kids it grew up in a military that is far different than what we experience and probably what is even like today.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to capture that. What a resilient woman. She's a professional. She worked while your father was in the Navy, and she got a master's degree.
Wow.
Then when her father passed away untimely, way too young, she moved to Arizona and started a new life and continues to give as far as to her church and through volunteer work like that. So I think that'd be somebody that you should capture on there, and it'd be great for you to share her story
There you
about,
go.
especially what things were like, how she raised families in the 60s and 70s and 80s
Yes.
to
I
do
would,
that.
probably,
So
I would probably learn some things.
you
Right.
probably, but not even just a trip down memory lane, but just specific things about what was going on in her mind when she was trying to work professionally and still take care of kids at home while your dad was at the Pentagon or deployed or doing those kind of things. I think
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
She told me that in 1964, ensign pay was less than what you could make on welfare in the state of California.
I believe it.
Yep.
Wow.
The story I always liked was they would PCS from her dad would go from one school to another, and they didn't settle travel vouchers until it was all done. So they
Oh.
basically traveled on their own dime.
They borrowed money from both our grandparents for them to live on because they got
For the
married like a week
months.
after graduation. So for the first 6 months of him being in the Navy, he got no pay. It didn't start till after your first ship.
Yeah, and then he would go to schools for 8 weeks or 12 weeks, and they would camp on the beach.
Wow.
And they wouldn't settle up on travel pay until it was all over. That's not what Chris and you and Elizabeth and we experienced. You drew advances and credit
They
cards
taught them-
now, and
My
Yeah.
mom was very insistent that the family would stay together at all times. We lived on Second Beach in Newport while my dad went to department head school,
Wow.
which
Yeah.
for
Anyway,
my
that would
brother
be
and
my
I
thought.
were like, that was the awesomest
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very sweet.
I just want to thank all those people that came before us that said, you know what? There's got to be a better way. We can't expect ensign and airmen to float that kind of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, do you have anybody?
But yeah, I was trying to think. I think you should probably interview your friend Doris.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
that would be fun.
She's an amazing lady. She lives up here at the assisted living home that Missy used to work and volunteer at. Missy still goes and sees her. She's 94
Gonna be.
this year. She originally grew up in New York. Her husband lived and worked in New York for the first couple years they were married and stuff, and then moved to Salt Lake City in the 1960s.
Oh,
From
wow.
New York to Salt Lake City in the 1960s.
Mhm.
Talk of culture shock.
Yeah.
Presbyterians, they're not Mormon.
No.
Right. So yeah.
So
Yeah.
huge difference. And then when he retired, they moved up here towards the Cache Valley, and she's lived up here for a long time and been a member of the church that we go to, and that's the double connection that Missy's got with her through that. But Doris just has got so many stories and how her boys grew up and what it was like in the 60s and the 70s in Salt Lake City and some different things. And those would be some interesting insights into a big modern city, but that has a lot of myth to it with the church's mystique in the 60s and 70s. Utah was very much Mormon back then, and they were not. There's probably a couple other people here from the Valley that you guys could interview.
Yeah.
But Doris would be the one that I would recommend.
And Elizabeth's heard about Doris because I see her every week. And sometimes I just need someone. We live to beat each other up, and she just has great insight and wisdom. And she's been through a lot. She always has something positive to say and advice. But I love it when she gets a little fired up. She grew up in the Glendale area of New York City, and you can hear her little New York accent come out when you talk to her. Like, oh, you're sounding New York today. She's a remarkable lady. I enjoy it. So I think everybody should go get a friend that's older than them. You know?
Absolutely.
Adopt somebody and go see him and talk to him every week. And it's just, I know she enjoys it. She tells me all the time how much it means to her, and we can all learn from people older than us. So,
yep. But we've talked for a very long time.
and you two are 2 hours ahead, so we're going to let you go. But this was delightful. Thank you, Greg and Chris. We know this has been our thing, and we want to share it with you, but it's always, you want to come do this?
We always appreciate guests that step out on faith with us.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Yeah. And one day when we're making money from this,
exactly.
We can all go with Elizabeth on one of her adventures.
Yes.
That's right.
We'll put you guys in charge of merch or something when we start doing live shows.
There you go.
We'll do the live shows, the dancing giraffes and all that. Yeah.
Yes. But anyways, thank you. Thank you both. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for supporting us.
Find us at facebook.com/YSMMF podcast and Instagram at YSMMF podcast for episode announcements. Thanks.